Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. Hope that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I'm going to be sitting back in my kind of squeaky chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you guys about Magic the Gathering and its dominance of the trading card industry, the collectibles industry, the toy industry. Because, yeah, we have a conversation worth having. You see, earlier today, the Wall Street Journal put out an article titled, "The Future of the Toy Industry Isn't Toys, It's Magic." And that is an eye-grabbing title, a clickbait title, you might say. In fact, I know it's a clickbait title because I'm going to have something like it for this video, since you guys seem to like those so much. And to summarize the article very briefly, it basically talks about how important Magic is for Hasbro, how impactful it's been to the industry as a whole, and how it's just really nice. You might want to consider investing in it and all that jazz that the Wall Street Journal likes to talk about. And you know what? All fairness, all things being equal, there is a lot of merit to considering Magic the Gathering and Hasbro as the future of the toy industry, the new way forward for the toy industry, because Hasbro has seen a lot of success with Magic. You could go as far as to say that Magic the Gathering is currently the pillar of all of Hasbro's financial success, which is worrying. I think if your entire company model relies on the success of one specific game, but hey, it's been working out well for them so far. But in all seriousness, all jokes aside, sales do continue to go up for Magic the Gathering. It pulls in more and more capital each year. In fact, the numbers being thrown around is something like $1 billion in annual revenue for Magic the Gathering. That is what some people are saying. And that, if it's a true number, is a mind-boggling amount of money for anybody, for any company, person, whatever. $1 billion with a B is a big number. I don't care who you listen to. It's a lot of cash. And like I said, the game continues to grow. It brings in more customers, more players, more collectors. Even now, at what seems like the height of TCG madness, it still continues to bring in new people and grow consistently year over year, which is impressive for a game as old as Magic the Gathering is, since it is the oldest of the current TCGs on the market. And Hasbro has definitely noticed this growth, and they've noticed its success, and they've really given a lot of attention to Magic in recent years, kind of been using it as their golden goose. Because toys, I don't want to say toys are in decline, but ever since 2020, 2019 maybe, it feels like toy sales and toys as a collectible have been in a bit of a slump. Maybe not a decline, I would say, but it definitely feels like toys in general are not something that people are overly excited about from a both play standpoint for the kids and as a collectible standpoint for the adults. You always see all these videos out there about people mocking the new toys that come out because they always look worse than the toys that existed 20 years ago, for instance. Whenever there's a new HasLab drop, even the ones that I like to buy, I do still see a lot of negativity around them. I mean, there's a new Zelda. 3 Zelda figures have gone live on Hasbro Pulse, sorry. Those are two technically different things. Hasbro Pulse has 3 new Zelda miniatures, Zelda figures. Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. And they look fine, but they don't look amazing. I mean, the Figma Link that has been around for a bazillion years looks amazing comparison, but they do look fine. But that is to say that that general attitude of negativity towards toys really does carry on to the wider market. And so, as a result, Hasbro has definitely been shifting its focus to the card world and shifting its focus from younger customers to older customers. And it's not hard to see the appeal in cards, just so we're clear. In addition to all the quality complaints we have about the world of toys and the price complaints that we have about things like Legos and such, there is a lot of appeal in the world of TCGs for collectors, investors, players, etc. I mean, for heaven's sake, I am here on a motorcycle? Very slow motorcycle. I'm here on a YouTube channel that largely talks about buying and selling cards. So obviously, good stuff. But collecting is mainstream now. It's very popular for content creators and influencers of all walks of life and all levels of financial freedom to post their epic pickups, talk about and brag about their crazy expensive cards. For the average person, rare cards and alt arts and such are becoming trophies. But they're also still game pieces. They also still have utility in a lot of these games, which makes them this kind of dual purpose collectible. They are a awesome thing you can include in your deck to show off how affluent you are, or they're just nice pieces you can have on display in a collection somewhere to show off how affluent you are. And it's getting harder, I think, inversely, to sell toys to the younger audiences, to kids, toddlers, etc., especially when you have such easy access to video games these days. I don't want to pull a fossil on you, but back in my day, video games were not something that kids had easy access to. But nowadays, they have phone tablets at their fingertips with Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox. I think Roblox still exists. It shouldn't, but it still exists. Kids have easy access to very bright, very attention-grabbing graphics, gameplay, etc., to the point where it's easy to understand why the traditional toys might not be able to hold their interest for a very long time. And so the younger audiences in the toy world, they wane their interest, and they move on to video games. And for the older audiences, they aren't really, like I said before, they're not really interested in a lot of the toys that are being offered. It still has collectors. Do not get my words twisted in your mind. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Don't get it twisted. There are still collectors. There are still diehard collectors in the toy market. Just look at some of the Transformers out there, some of the Bionicles out there. And like I said, I'm going to be buying those Zelda toys from Hasbro. So obviously I'm still buying that crap. But that's because it's Zelda. I suppose it's not fair to say that that's a toy thing. Anyway, I digress. It's still a market that has its collectors. It's just that the card market is growing faster, and it's not hard to see why. Locking in adults who have more money with a product that requires recurring spending to keep up with it, to be good at it, that's genius. That's the loot box system. That's the DLC system that video games have had for a long time, and card games have had it longer. Magic the Gathering really did perfect this idea that you have to keep buying Magic cards to stay up to date with Magic. You want your deck to be as good as it can possibly be, right? Well, you gotta buy the new pack. I don't have any keys here I don't have my keys on me to jingle in front of your face, but yeah, gotta jingle that new stuff in front of the customers, and they'll come back for more because they love the game so much, they like playing it so much, and that interest in the game aspect, that makes some of those cards more desirable, more collectible than others, and that brings in collectors and investors to speculate or appreciate the rarer, more expensive cards. There's this really nice big loop. Players drum up interest, collectors and investors collect and speculate on the stuff, and this makes the game more appealing to a broader audience, and it incentivizes Hasbro to give more focus to it. It's a winning strategy that it's a winning strategy that keeps Hasbro afloat when other collectibles and sources of revenue wane in interest. That's the word of the day, waning. Declining. But make no mistake, just because Magic is growing at a breakneck pace, and it is growing at a breakneck pace, Universes Beyond works. I know that you guys aren't happy to hear that. I'm not happy to say it. But Universes Beyond works. It brings in foreign audiences to Magic the Gathering. Some of them stick around, a lot of them leave, but it does make money. And it does continue to see the game grow, even as some diehards and Puritans leave. The game continues to grow. They are currently bringing in more people than they're bleeding out, just so we're clear. But make no mistake, while Magic is growing, the toy market itself is still fucking huge. You know, I'm working off of estimates right here, guesswork at best, but the TCG market as a whole brings in about $9-ish billion a year. Maybe less, maybe a bit more, but that is a big number. Like I said, billion with a B is a big number. But by some estimates, the toy market brings in something like $115 to $120 billion a year. Now, you don't have to be a math genius to understand that 120 is a much larger number than 9, okay? TCGs are growing, but the toy market isn't collapsing. It's not going to zero. Toys still sell very well annually. People still buy toys for their kids. They still buy toys to collect. And there's still more people buying toys than there are people buying Magic cards specifically, or TCGs specifically. You know, the TCG market does grow. The reason that this article is drumming up a bit of interest, and the reason that this conversation is even worth having, is because TCGs are growing fast. Right now, the TCG market is probably experiencing an 8% growth annually compared to the 4% growth that toys receive annually, which is fine, not amazing, but it's fine. And that number, that 8% over 4%, that appeals to investors, institutional and otherwise. You know, if you hear that you can get a 4% return on your... It's fresh on my mind, so you can get a 4% return on your Legend of Zelda Hasbro Pulse action figure, or an 8% return in a year on your Legend of Zelda Universes Beyond card, now available at a secret layer store near you. You know, which one would you choose if you were the investing kind, the 8% or the 4%? And that's really the crux of the discussion is, yeah, Magic is growing faster, but it's not the dominant force in the market because it's not the centerpiece of the market. The toy industry is massive, huge, you could say, huge. So maybe one day, Magic will dominate everything, and all collectibles will bow down to the supreme divinity that is trading card games, and trading card games will in turn bow down to Magic. But for now, there is still a lot of room on the market for other things, other card games, other collectibles, and for toys in general. And I just want to say that I like Magic a lot, but I don't think it is the end-all, be-all king of the collectibles world. Anyway, that's all I got for you kiddos today. Thank you so much for sticking around with my ramble rants. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'm always interested in hearing what you guys have to say, and as always, check out my various links: Discord, Patreon, TCG Player, and eBay should all be in the description. And yeah, that's all I got for you kiddos. Talk to you later. Ciao.